Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to Homemaker Chic Podcast. We are so excited for this summer season with you. How you doing, girl?
It is summer. I'm hot. It's summer. It's summer with a house with no air. I've got a fan blowing on me. I'm sleeveless. I'm nervous. I'm still warm.
This is the time of year where
today,
Angela starts wiping her mustache during the podcast. For those of
I'll
you
be
now
like
watching on video
during the episode, the sweat stash. Yeah,
you can watch her dab her mustache on YouTube.
Wonderful. So glad you said that. Let's put that in the trailer. How are you? I'm warm. I went to the beach today. We have I think this is our first 80-degree day. So I know everybody's like, but I'm pretty far north and that's a big deal. So I busted it this morning and then loaded up the burr bus at 1:00 and took the kids to the beach. So
it's a good way to spend a summer afternoon. That's exactly what we did as well. Yep. We worked this morning, went to the beach. It was lovely.
Sweet.
But it is 103 here. So
yeah,
I am hot as well.
And so like I'm 80 and 100% humidity or whatever, and you're 103 and dry. 15. Sounds horrible.
15% humidity.
15%. Yeah.
Yep. Like nothing.
It makes my skin feel like it's going to fall off just talking about it.
One gets used to it.
Okay.
Well, this is the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, where we are rescuing the art of homemaking from the daily grind. We are here with you, alongside you this summer, trying to help you keep your head above water, keep you inspired, keep you excited about the work that you're doing in your home, the projects you've got going home, all the good stuff. I'll turn my volume down a little bit.
Okay. Inspired, excited. Okay.
Yep.
We can't help you with the temperature, but we can keep you moving forward.
That's right. Yes. Help keep you moving forward.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you have in store for us today?
Well, today, for those of us who are parents or grandparents, or maybe we just live in a neighborhood with a lot of kids, or we have friends who have kids, we're going to talk about what to do with those kids. Because July and August are kind of these months where summer is so good and you want to savor all the pieces of it. But like for us, it gets really hot and the weeds kind of start to creep in and things kind of start to die back just a little bit because it gets so hot and you're kind of lacking that real vibrancy of spring and early summer. It can get a little thick. You're in it.
You're in the thick of it. Yeah, you're in the thick of it. And the kids are up in your business. And
they've been out of school for a while. So I know for whatever reason, schools start now, like August 1st. Get out of here with that nonsense. I am not about that.
Do they really?
Yes, they really do. I don't understand it. I don't.
Just another way to suck the childhood away from the babies. I swear.
Yes.
Gosh, let them be children. August 1st.
Yeah. August is real.
I don't know, sweetie. Why are you depressed?
So why
are you the biggest category of antidepressant takers? I don't know.
She just went there. Maybe? Goodness gracious. We're a part of a homeschool co-op with our church, and we are starting the first week of October, to give you some context, which I am very excited about because for us and for other families in our church, September is harvest time. If you're an orcharding family, it's pears, it's apples. For us, it's like tomato passata till our eyes are going to explode.
Right.
And I will not school my kids to make tomato passata. I just need you to know that. I have my priorities and I would choose passata. Okay. It's just the way that it is. Yeah. So my point is kids have been out of school for a little while now. You know, there are things that were really exciting to them at the beginning of summer, maybe aren't so exciting anymore. It's gotten a little bit.
It's a little stale. Summer is stale for some, they need some pizzazz, just like we do.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what to do with them today.
Okay.
All
right.
We're just going to have fun with it. So before we do that, let's say thank you to the sponsor of this
Yeah.
episode.
All right. So let's say thank you to Dry Farm Wines for sponsoring this episode of Homemaker Chic podcast. You can be a part of what we're doing on the show and drink fabulous wine by visiting dryfarmwines.com/homemaker chic. And the reason Shay and I drink these wines and the reason we love it when you do is because, well, first of all, we're really health focused on the show. If you hadn't noticed, we're always talking about being the gatekeepers of our home. So it's not just being the gatekeepers of, what comes in on the internet and what movies our kids are watching and what we're stocking our pantry with. It's also, for mom and dad. We call them mom and dad drinks in our house. And so we want to drink we want to drink the very best, and we want to support the kind of agriculture that we believe in and support our bodies. And that's where Dry Farm Wines comes into the picture. This is biodynamic wine grown on small family farms around the world. So we're talking about wines that are organic. They're dry farmed, which means no irrigation. There's no added sugar. There's no GMO yeast. So for those of you that are really convicted about your health, this is wine that syncs up with that. Mm-hmm. And we believe in it really strongly, and we love it. Okay.
I got to point something out.
Okay.
I did a cooking community call earlier this week. And Laura, hi, Laura, if you're listening, she said, I had to laugh when I heard you and Angela talking about Dry Farm Wines. And you were, listing off all these things that were great about them. And you said they're vegan. And I started laughing like, duh, Shay, like, did you think there was secretly going to be meat in your wine? And I had
but there's fish bladders.
I had to say, actually, Laura, like for example, they use egg whites to filter out the wine, to filter some of the sediment out of the wine. It's really common to use egg yolks. It's either or egg whites or a chemical.
Egg whites, right?
Yep. So if you have an egg intolerance or if you have an egg allergy, how would you ever know this? You might just think you can't drink red wine. Turns out you might be actually having a reaction to the fish bladder,
the way it's made,
or the egg whites that they use. So I know it seems like a silly thing. Of course, wine's vegan. It's made out of grapes.
Vegan.
But
so true.
The rules are so lax. Goodness gracious. I just keep thinking, who in the wine industry is paying off what politician to keep the labeling requirements what they are? Who's sleeping with who? What is going on here?
Honestly, isn't that so strange that you go to the grocery store and you can flip the back of everything to read the label except your wine. So this wine is for those of you that are, your keto, your paleo, your health is a priority, and you still want to eat. You still want to have, those meals full of really good local food that you've made, wonderful joie de vivre.
Yeah.
And added bonus, they have a 100% happiness promise. So they stand behind every bottle that you receive. They're either going to replace it or refund it. If you don't love it, no questions asked. And I've experienced this myself. They sent me one month and I reached out and I was like, yeah, I don't think so. That one wasn't my jam. They sent me a different one. So visit dryfarmwines.com/homemaker chic. And the promo is that for first-time customers, you're going to get an extra bottle for a penny. So you can do a monthly subscription or you can place a one-time order of 3, 6, 9, or 12 bottles. No matter what size you order, you're going to get an extra bottle. And we're talking everything from rosé to bubbly and every shade in between. Dryfarmwines.com/homemaker chic.
Do it. Speaking of, check out my manicure. Those of you watching the video on YouTube, rosé all day.
It's not going to focus. Rosé. You're going to have to go way back because of the...
That's in no way.
Good cameras on now.
Rosé.
That's
how beautiful
cute.
is this?
It's
Looks
gorgeous.
like little bubbly champagne nails.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love it. So fun. Okay. As we have
so mom's having fun. She's drinking Dry Farm. Kids.
My kids are out, and I'm going to start, we'll start here today. I wrote everybody a sticky note. I am going in to record my podcast, young children. Georgia, here's your sticky note. Owen, here's your sticky note. And I know if you have young kids, you're like, in what world could my kid actually be helpful? But surprisingly, they do get really helpful. And it's actually surprising, even if they're not teenagers or anything like that, how much they actually can help with. Of course, if they're really little, you're training them. You're training their heart to want to be helpful. My kids are really close to 14. 11. No, wait. How old are they? Shoot. How old is Owen?
Almost 14. Almost 14.
Okay, so then 12.
Owen's going to
Yeah,
be
he's going to
12
be
this year, isn't he?
he's going to be
Yeah.
12 this year. Will's almost
Okay.
11 and 8.
Okay.
Okay, so they're kind of mid-range.
Hmm.
They're so helpful. I'm writing these sticky notes. Do the dishes, vacuum the floor, sweep off the front porch, water the plants. It's incredible what they can do. And we're going to be talking about fun things to help keep them busy, but fun comes
But
after
don't
work.
forget, I'm sorry. Yeah. Fun after responsibility. If they leave this home with anything, it's to love Jesus.
Amen.
It's the chief end of man, darn it, and fun
Yep.
after
Yep.
responsibility. Okay.
And in that order, okay?
And in that
Jesus,
order.
responsibility, fun. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, don't forget and don't feel bad
Don't feel
about
bad. Don't feel
layering
bad.
on that responsibility for your kids because I'll tell
Hmm.
you, one of the quickest ways to make your children pretty rotten is to just give them it all and think, I'm here to make your childhood just as full of all the cushy things as I possibly could. And I understand that, especially for parents who came from a particularly uh,
Yes.
certain bend in their own family experience. Okay.
We didn't have any money growing up. So for when sometimes when you've heard me say on this show, like about art supplies, when I tell my kids, just add it to the Amazon cart, just to be able
Mhm.
to do that is such a privilege,
Yeah.
And so it is really important. Like they are kind of spoiled. They're spoiled. I mean, they have way more than I ever had growing up.
Mhm.
And um when I'm like handing out the sticky notes, as it were, I have to remind myself, push a little harder. Go ahead, add an extra layer onto whatever you ask them to do. And, by the way, I'm going to double check. So do it my way. They're not
Yeah.
going to, obviously, but don't be afraid to push. Don't be afraid to give them just a little more responsibility than you think they could handle, even though maybe the whining and the complaining will come. It's really, really important that they know that they're a valued member. Like they help the wheel turn as far as
Mhm.
your household goes. They're a valuable spoke in the wheel that's so important, no matter how much they bemoan and groan and complain. They
Yep.
need it. So
Yep.
do that first before anything we talk
Do
about
that
today.
first. And you know what? I think I used to be the type of mom who was, I still kind of go back and forth on this. I think I definitely used to be the type of mom who was like, I'm not going to bribe my children. They're going to obey me because they love me and they love the Lord and they want to submit to me. I'm
I
not
bribe my
really,
kids.
I'm
I,
not totally above
I
bribery at this stage. I'm like, you do a
I mean,
rotten
I don't
job,
know if is it bribery or is it saying, "Hey, when this is done, we can do this."
or it's consequences. I'm like, if you're
Yeah,
if you're doing what I'm asking you to do, which is just basically be a good member of the family and pull some
right.
of the weight, if you're
Hmm.
rotten about that, you don't get your switch. Sorry.
Right.
And at least for
It
my
has to get
kids,
done
that still
anyways, but
works.
right.
You
Yeah.
know? So yeah, you get to
Yeah.
decide. You can do it with a bad attitude and lose your privileges, or you can do it with a bad attitude and you're still going to have to do it. So,
Yeah. And
it's,
but that's just real world training anyways. You and I have to do what we have to do every day, whether it's with a good attitude or a bad attitude. The bonus is that when we do it with a good attitude, things go better.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I often take them out of the context of our sweet little home where they're safe and I have to
Mm,
love them because they're my offspring. Put them into the
mm-hmm,
context of a job, put them into the context of a church body, put them into the context of
mm-hmm.
a marriage. And I'm like, you're divorced, you're fired, you're kicked out,
Yeah,
you're excommunicated. Like
it's true.
when you put these people that we love so much, we could just squeeze our little heads off. Um, but I am their mother. I am the furthest thing from objective. So
Right.
sometimes I try to pull back and say, you know what? Yes, it's summertime and you're making your kids put away their clean laundry, gather up the dirty clothes, water the pots
Yeah.
of flowers, whatever it
Right.
is. You're doing this for their future employer, for their future spouse, for their future
Mm-hmm.
children, like for
Yep.
them to exist outside of mom bubble and just be decent
Yes.
humans. Okay, so
Yeah.
Lay it into them, guys. Lay it into
Yeah.
them. Slap those
You're
chores.
like, here's, here's, err on the side of more. If you're
Yeah.
going to make a mistake, don't make the mistake be that you underworked your children. Make the
Yeah.
mistake be that you overworked your children.
I saw this hilarious meme the other day that said, when you wanted generational wealth, but all your parents gave you is generational work ethic.
Right? It's true.
Yeah.
Dang it.
I don't have generational wealth to pass down to my children. So
No.
all I can give them is generational work ethic. Sorry, kids.
Right. Sorry. Sorry, not
Okay.
sorry.
So first layer of summer fun. I mean, genuinely, is fun is only my YouTube video was about this last week. Like, um,
Mm,
meaningful harvest only comes with meaningful effort. So like
yeah.
if I just go to somebody's garden and it's beautiful and fabulous and perfect, and I pick a basket of the most beautiful vegetables, those basketfuls of vegetables, they're not going to taste as sweet and wonderful to me as they are from my own garden because I
Mhm.
labored over those beds. I know
Right.
exactly what went into getting to that moment. And the
Mhm.
same is true for our kids. Going to the beach just because it's summer and mom needs something to do with them, that is
Mhm.
not the same as some kid has to go mow the lawn when it's 85 degrees outside and he's hot and sweaty. And hey, when you get done with that lawn, guess what? We're going to go to the beach. So do a
Mhm.
good job. I'll meet you back here when you're done. That is a completely different experience for the kid.
Yeah. And I know there's moms with I'm a little bit further ahead than some of our audience in this.
Mhm.
And I just want to tell you that like when they get out there and they're out doing it on their own, they will know they'll know. They'll know that the extra lawn mowing and that extra work that it matters. So my eldest is 19 and he comes home and says all the time that he's just working circles around his friends, that they want to
Mm.
be done. He's like, let's keep going. There's money. He's
Mhm.
self-employed. So he's very ambitious and entrepreneurial.
Mhm.
And he's pushing on to the next thing, pushing on to the next. And he likes to have fun. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, but the work ethic is there. And, and like, I humbly like to think we had something to do with that.
Mhm.
It does work. You can
Mhm.
put out decent, hardworking people and just like,
And still love them,
again, I
still
just
give
like
them
err
fun
on the
things,
and still
you
love
know?
them, of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, when Aiden looks back at his life, he's not just going to think, oh my gosh, my mom worked me so hard. Like
No.
you, particularly, I think, do you really lead the charge in like, you work hard, you work hard. Like we are working class
It,
people, okay?
yeah, I'm a hard worker. And he was not a hard worker as a kid. He was the one who'd go in for a glass of water and be gone for 45 minutes. Sorry, Aiden.
I have one
I
of
know
those.
he's not listening. But you know, but so I'm just saying, like, even with those a tendency like that as when they're little,
Mhm.
that's not set in stone. So again, like don't err on the side of too little.
Yeah. To me, this is kind of how like salt brings out the flavor of sugar. Like when you're making cookies,
Mm,
if you don't add salt, it is just sweet.
yeah.
It's got no cojones, you know? It's got no
Yeah. Well,
structure.
and think about that
Sorry for saying
when
cojones.
you're a new that's it's okay.
It's the first word that came to my mind. I don't know why.
My kids are like, "Mom, when you say Shiza, it's still like we know what you're
Don't know what you
saying."
mean.
Um, which I say all the time. Uh think about when you're a new baker and you're brand new to the concept of baking, when even if you're 12 and you're learning how to bake, you're like, "Salt? Really?"
Yeah.
That it's like that knee jerk, "Ew, why would I do that?" Same with work and kids. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
sugar comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes the sugar sweeter, man. That's why.
Mhm.
It makes the
Mhm.
sugar sweeter. So,
Or have at least have depth more. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Step one. Step one is earn that fun, man. Find ways. I don't care if your kids are 2 years old. Great. We're going to go clean your room. You're going to help mom, whatever, vacuum, do the silly thing. I mean,
A
they can
2-year-old
push the
can
thing
identify a
alongside you.
spoon goes
Give
in
them
the
a,
spoon
there you go.
part and a fork goes in the fork part,
Yeah. Give them
Yeah,
a
they love it.
Swiffer. Make them a part of it somehow,
Right.
even though they're not going to be really helping you at that point per se.
Mhm.
Um, So, one of the things that we have actually found important for us is that when we are wanting to have fun in summertime, it's actually kind of essential that we leave the house. And I
Mm,
know that's really hard when you've got kids who are napping. And I understand coming from somebody
hmm.
who also had nap times for, 8, 9 years. Your whole
Really
life
strict
revolves
nap
around
times for a
naps.
decade. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But because we homeschool, because we have a farm, we have a garden, we have animals, we work at home. Home is this
Hmm.
wonderful, beautiful place where we rest and we're refreshed. Home is also a lot of work. And I find there are two extremes that sort of really replenish us as a family. One of them is when we go outside to the grill and we pour a glass of wine and we put on the
Hmm.
music and we just hang out. We still like have to almost like step out of the house. The other is when
Yeah.
we go somewhere. We go down to the river. We go get ice cream and we have a river here. We'll go walk on the river. Like we go
Hmm.
somewhere, we do something. Maybe it's a little hike, a little road trip. But there's something about just that leaving that makes you really glad to come home again. And I
Hmm.
think it kind of breaks that staleness that you were talking about at the beginning. Because it can get, I
Yeah.
say crusty. The summer house is a little crusty. Kids are pretty
It's
crusty.
rough. Yeah. Yeah. There's dirty feet on the couch and earwigs. And yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Just wrappers of things everywhere, water glasses coming
Right.
out your eyeballs. And so,
Clementine peels. Yeah.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
feel a little like the walls are kind of coming in around you, which we definitely feel, especially this when it's this hot outside,
Hmm.
um, go somewhere. Just go somewhere. Doesn't have to be a big expensive place, just somewhere. So I think,
A
it
splash
makes,
pad in your neighborhood, a public
yes.
pool, at the
Yep.
river, a river walk, that
Yep.
your town has put in, ice cream shop. Yeah.
Yep. Just somewhere. Sometimes just leaving for an hour, especially if you put on like an audiobook in the car or really good music, that can really transforms things. And when my kids were really little, Stu was working away from the house so much. And I would load them all into the van and I would drive to a coffee store that was like all the way on the other north side of town. So this was like a 35-minute drive for me.
Okay.
But we'd put on music, we'd roll the windows down. They were too young, so like I was only buying one coffee. Do you remember those days? When it wasn't like, can I have a
Oh,
smoothie?
a
Can I have a bigger
$4
with whipped
errand?
cream? The whipped cream.
Can I get a matcha?
There are benefits to having super young children, and one is that they cannot order human-sized foods
Wow.
at restaurants and coffee
Yeah.
stores.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I would go get a coffee, and it was just like an hour and a half, just time out, just break.
Mm,
Mom's gonna get a coffee. Look, it wasn't efficient. It wasn't like price effective for me to go drive 35
right.
minutes to get a coffee, but it was better than me losing my mind. And so
Hmm.
there's something like that everywhere where people live.
Hmm.
There is. And there's free things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We go down to the river a lot.
Free, like
Hmm.
at the library, even like lots of
Oh,
libraries
yeah.
have like a little play area
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
creative stations or something. My kids love that.
Hmm.
And if you're hot, so you don't have air at home, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool inside. Hmm.
If you're going to stay home, tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Okay.
I know we're kind of going back to the work thing a little bit with this, but there are times this time of summer, July, August, early September, where I really do need help with preserving.
Hmm.
And this has been something fun. I think there were years where I kind of really held this close to my chest because I really wanted to do it perfectly and I wanted to do it my way. And I didn't necessarily want other people's fingers in the pie, so to speak.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
now I'm like, will everyone please help me? I need to slice. I harvested, I think, 12 or 16 heads of cabbage a few days ago because they were going to explode in the high temperatures. And
Mm.
it was all hands on deck. A kid was helping me clean them, a kid was helping me shred them in the food processor. A few people were helping stuff jars, somebody was putting the salt over, somebody was pouring the water in. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like we did a project together as a family. And I know that sauerkraut is not the first thing people think of when they think of a family project. But like, can you think of things like that where you're like, we're gonna work to like Team Elliot,
Oh,
let's
we do
go.
like we do the chamomile like right now. I'm just thinking about what's going on right now. So we do the chamomile together. We do in later on this summer we do the basil and make
Hmm.
pesto together.
Hmm.
And we'll do applesauce, which is just
Oh yeah.
hellish, just messy and sticky.
Sticky.
But you know, at this point, I'll take their help. That's a huge project, you know, to
Hmm.
put up applesauce for a year. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. That's
Hmm.
helpful. It's not always as tidy, you
Hmm.
know, as far as drips and spills
Yes.
and wasps and, you know, like that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. But they can actually be incredibly helpful. And what
Mhm.
I find is that these times, they're actually really sweet bonding times. There's something that happens not at the beginning. Everyone's whining, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do this. She's in my
Mhm.
way. I need
Mhm.
more room. Da, da. But then
Right.
eventually the project, it'll sort of hit a stride. And somewhere, when you get really locked into what you're doing and you kind of find your pace and you're grooving along, and
Mhm.
then the jokes start coming. And then people
Right.
start ribbing each other, and then people
Mhm.
start laughing. And they're always like, we always hit this. It's like when I think of sometimes when, what's it called, when a biker gets behind another biker, like drafting, you
It,
know? And we're
yeah.
like kind of moving
It's
as
NASCAR. It's bump drafting.
bump
Mhm.
drafting. Okay.
Mhm.
We always hit that kind of sweet spot. And that makes it really encouraging and it makes us want to keep going.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
that's memories are being made. I mean, that's like invaluable. So
Oh, yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Big time. Okay. Wait with me just for a second here while we say thank you to
Okay.
Homemaker Chic sponsors. First up, I want to tell you about Tubes and Co. and the summer products. We're talking about going to the river. We're talking about being outside, biking, hiking,
Yeah.
doing all the things. So there's a few products that they make that I really want you to check out and give a try. So you can visit tubesandco.com and let's see, right now, if you're listening to this podcast on the day that it airs, you can get 20% off site wide by using the code
Which is
SUMMER20.
the
It's July
15th.
15th
Yeah.
through the 18th. Okay. So for that
Mhm.
3 day period, you can get 20% off. If you're listening to this at a different time, you can still use the code HMC10 for 10% off all site wide. Okay. But listen, when you go there, I want you to look at a few things. First, I want you to look at the deodorant, especially if you've got young children. We talked about, our stinky children. I lifted an arm the other day and I was like, listen, bud, we're going to need to start, we're going to need to start putting on some deodorant. You don't want to use the type of deodorant that has aluminum. This can cause serious problems to health
Mhm.
long term. So use Tubes and Co deodorant. It works so well. It doesn't have any baking soda. I know that can be irritating to some people's armpits, and it doesn't have aluminum, but it works really well at not nourishing your skin without stripping it, and also is super effective against stinky armpits. And while you're
Mhm.
there, look at the sun balm and the new sun stick, which is so wonderful. You can keep it in your purse,
I love
rub it over
it.
your
The
forehead,
sun
rub it
stick.
over the bridge of your
Mhm.
nose, your cheekbones, those areas where you're prone to get a little bit more sun. And the sun balm, because zinc oxide is what they use. It offers UVA and UVB protection. It's way safer than traditional sunscreen. It does not penetrate the skin and enter the bloodstream like traditional sunscreen does. So,
He- I got to say something about sunscreen really quick because if you're still like just getting like going to Target and getting some, you have to stop. I just heard the other day from a skin doctor, like someone very renowned and from Europe, so like way cooler than us, that like our methods of making sunblock, our regulations or whatever, in the United States have not been updated in 20 years.
there you go.
They're still allowed to do it the same way they did 20 years ago. So it's so toxic And they pulled a ton of them from the market even in the last 24 months. And that Sun Stick from Tubes and Co. is fantastic. It's so convenient. Just the packaging alone, like the way it's formulated is amazing. And the packaging for a mom is so convenient.
So visit tubesandco.com, use code HMC10 for 10% off, or between July 15th and 18th, you can use the code SUMMER20 for 20% off.
Okay, and so like I said, no air conditioning here. It's warm, it's hot. You know, we all want to sleep cool, we want to sleep refreshed. So I want you to visit americanblossomlinens.com and use this code SummerChic20 for 20% off. Shay and I, we've been draping our beds in American Blossom linens for like 4 years now.
Many moons.
These sheets are made in America from start to finish, from the growing of the cotton till the packaging that lands on your front door. And we invite you to try this beautiful, beautiful line of linens for your home. I know you've got a linen closet and maybe it's feeling stale like your children's summer routine. So they've reintroduced their they have a new baby blanket. They have crib sheets, and they've reintroduced their beautiful herringbone cotton blanket. This is the blanket that I have on all my children's beds. It's heavy and cool at the same time. I love it.
I love it.
I think you guys will really like layering this onto your bed. And of course, duvets, pillowcases, sheets, everything. For those of you that have queen and king size beds, you're going to get extra pillowcases. So instead of just 2, you'll get 4. And they have a 2-year happiness guarantee. So these sheets get softer with every washing. When we introduced them to you a few years ago, we were saying they're like modern vintage sheets. So if you're someone like me who loves that smooth feeling of an old pillowcase, that's what American Blossom is going to bring you. So visit AmericanBlossomLinens.com and use the code Summer Chic. It's time to give that linen closet a makeover. Summer Chic for 20% off.
I do need to give my linen closet a makeover. I mean, I don't need to
right?
replace my
Every
sheets. I
couple
need
years,
to clean it.
It happens. Right.
There's lots of things I need to clean and organize, but that's perhaps a different episode for a different day. Summer organization.
We'll do it.
Anybody?
Right.
But yes. Okay. So what else is on your list for summertime with children? What's like the next 6 weeks? What are you looking at?
Yeah, so my boys started a tree fort, and it was a little bit like, to my chagrin, like they started, and I was like, oh my gosh, where is this going? Huge nails, saws. I just let them at it, and it's out around a tree in the driveway, and they're so proud of it. They need to put one more piece of plywood down for the floor, and then they did it. They did it. They have that like backyard that like kind of. It's pretty janky. Some of those nails need to be clipped off. They're coming through the bottom, you know. But like for 4 days, all you heard was tsh, 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 you know. But I said, you know, once it's done, I want you to sleep out there. You have my full permission to sleep out there for the rest of the summer. So whether it's going to the thrift shop or Amazon, getting a tent, like let your kids sleep in the backyard, get them outside, get them, toughens them up a little bit if they're not used to that. And they love it if they are. They love that mom would let them do that and feel brave and adventurous sleeping in the backyard. But definitely do that. Some backyard camping and make it like not a special thing, not a once a year thing, Labor Day weekend or whatever. Let them just rot out there. Send them out with cereal box and like, here's where the milk is in the fridge and eat your breakfast. Like, just let them go.
Yeah.
I think it's, it's so great to do things with your kids during the summer, but also give them, it's a wonderful time for them to have that magical childhood feeling of autonomy,
I think that's really important.
It is really, really important. And I think today, because it's a more dangerous world than you and I grew up in, they don't have that like we had.
Yeah.
I would take off on my Huffy 10-speed for the day, know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and not come, like, just gone.
Your parents wouldn't know where you were until you did a collect call. You have a call from, I'm at Target, come pick me up.
Yep, yes, I used to do that too. Mom, pick me up. I so used to do that. But and so
Oh,
I do think things like the backyard camping and like anything where you're like not fussing over them, especially the boys, is really, really good for them.
yes. And that kind of ties into kind of one of my next one, which is like I'm trying more and more to be a yes mom. So,
My mom, when I became a mom, my mom said, say yes as whenever you can,
yeah,
because you're going to have to say no so much. Say yes
exactly.
whenever you can.
So you buy a thing of apples. You're inclined to, can mom, can I have another apple? You're inclined to say no. Those need to last until Wednesday.
Hmm.
Okay. I know that mom's instinct is to just be like, no, no, no. Mom, can I see
No.
you outside?
Hmm.
No. Mom, can I eat
Yeah.
this? No. Mom, can I watch this movie? No. Like, and I
Yep.
understand that. And that's important too, because we have to safeguard, right? That's our job. And sometimes we're literally
Right.
talking about like making food last until the next paycheck or whatever it is. But
I hate that. Yeah.
when you can say yes, I think it's
Do it.
so crucial too, especially in summertime, because we don't hold to the same rigid schedules that we
Hmm.
do and that we have to hold to when there's math lessons and piano lessons and all these kinds of things that take up our schedules and take up our times during the school year. And so
Mm.
I'm just trying to remember, Mom, can I use your phone and listen to some music? Let's take the speaker outside and do a dance party. Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Go ahead. Can I
Yep.
run through the sprinkler? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Like,
Hmm.
and you
And
know
you can do
what?
that with parameters. Yes, you can. Please wind up the hose.
Yes.
Okay. I can
Yep.
say yes tomorrow if I find the hose wound up tonight.
Hmm.
Like it's really, you can have boundaries and stuff like that. But yeah, my kids, for us, it's like, can so and so come over? Can so and so have a sleepover? There's a couple kids. I love them. They're always here. I have 8 kids, not 6 at this point. It feels
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
it's not a bad thing, but just try to say yes whenever I can because soon the grind will come for them too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it will. And that's a great time. I'm trying to turn my
It's okay.
notifications off. I don't know. Do not disturb for 1 hour. Um, it's really it's great to have parameters set in place. So for example, going into summer, if you just say, okay, guys, like we're gonna do play dates on Fridays and Saturdays, so we'll take those as they come. Don't ask me Monday through Thursday. We have
Right.
these other things going on. Like it's okay to have boundaries for
Hmm.
sure. I don't just mean let your kids
Hmm.
get whatever they want, but if you can structure things so that it's not just you against them. That's, I think, what wears moms down in the summertime where your mom can have a
Yeah.
sleepover and you're like, I don't even want to think about this again. I just
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
right now. You guys are asking me too many questions. You're attacking me from too many angles.
It's decision fatigue.
It's decision
Uh,
fatigue.
yeah.
And so
Uh-huh.
there are ways around this. For example, we try to have an errands day. So you need to go to Hobby Lobby for markers, or you wanted to try this special whatever. Okay,
Hmm.
like this time in the schedule, Thursday mornings, let's say. Thursday mornings, we're going to
Yeah.
run to town, and here's going to be our stops. And so if you need something, then we'll take care of it then. And
Right.
so, again, it's one of those things where like structure actually brings freedom because
Mm.
then mom and dad don't have to make all these decisions. We know that we've got Fridays and Saturdays set aside for play dates. We know that we're going to have families over for supper on Sundays, right? So, like, we
Hmm.
don't have to try and make that work during the week. We know that we have errands set for this time. We know that we do grocery stores on Wednesday nights. And so we know there's always going to be food for the weekend. Like, these are the
Hmm.
kinds of things that end up creating space in your home
Yeah.
so that it's not just like, oh, I wanted to make dinner, but oh, I don't have that ingredient. Da, 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 I don't, right? Like those are like
Hmm.
sandpaper all over you all the time, and it gets really
Right.
exhausting. Oh, doesn't it ever?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's well, we've talked about it like with meal planning. The scheduling creates freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it
Hmm.
really does. And on that note, maybe it's just worth touching on quickly too, like having a budget, a summer budget. I mean, we find that we have to redo our budget every season.
Hmm.
Um,
Summer's different.
Summer's
For us,
different.
it's very different because we're homebodies. So, we live in a tourist destination. So we're homebodies most of the year. But like once the season starts, we call it playing the tourist. We want to play. We want to go
Yeah.
to town for ice cream and see the band. We want to go to the drive-in movie theater. Like
Yeah.
it's very outside of the season. There's not a lot of people here. We like the hype. We like the hubbub. There's always live music. We want to go.
Yeah.
And it costs more this time of year for sure.
Yeah. And you want to be able to say yes to things. Can we stop at that roadside
Mm-hmm.
store? Okay, yeah, sure. Let's stop.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what they got. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be able to go out. There's a few places that are open here on the lake, and like we try to go to them at least, once a season. Like you said, that costs a little bit more, but we're not paying for piano lessons in the summertime. And so this
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you just completely undo all your work, but this actually creates a lot of fun in a family to say, we have our fun budget. We get it out in cash at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of every month. And so if we want to go get ice cream and go bike down by the river after supper when it's a little bit cooler, then we know we can open the cash envelope and say, okay, great. There's $37 left in here, just enough for us
Right.
to get our ice cream. And that makes it super fun for the kids because you're not making that decision with like that chip on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I mean, okay, we don't really have anything
Yeah.
else to
And
do.
like for their sake, that's where we need to be mature behind closed doors and get our you know what together so that we aren't projecting that wait, you want something else vibe all summer long because they will remember that.
Yeah.
And all it takes is like some intention and a little organization or forethought on our end so that then when we come out and we have our mom face on, like we're not projecting that you want something again
Mm-hmm.
vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that makes you're still paying for things, but then it just makes it really unfun for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because mom's doing it,
Yeah.
but she's all bitter about it,
Yeah. And their little
and
hearts take that on. They
yeah.
do. Yeah.
And usually we get bitter about it because we know behind closed doors we don't actually have it together. That's
Mm-hmm.
usually what it is. Usually if
Yeah.
for example we have our budget set and we know that we've accounted for all the things that we need to account for and maybe there's not as much extra as you want. Trust me, I get it, okay? But there are still ways to make that spread. And it's like Dave Ramsey talks about. He's like, even if you've got $20 extra in your budget for fun, for eating out, for whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, like when you know that you've got that free and clear after all your obligations are met, then when you spend that $20, you're in full freedom. There's
Yes.
there's there's no guilt attached to it. And so, look, you've still got 8 weeks left of summer, let's say. So,
Mm-hmm.
this like you still have time. If you haven't done this yet, if you haven't got to this point yet, that's totally fine. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
if like what we're saying maybe is striking a bit of a chord, it might be a good time to just sit down and repencil things out for the next 8 weeks. Here's what this is
Or
going to look
maybe there
like.
isn't. And maybe you sit down with the kids and say, hey, we'd like to take you to this water park.
Yeah.
On Fridays, we'd like to go get a kitty size cone of ice cream with you and whatever, Minions 4 is coming out. Our
Hmm.
family's so excited about Minions 4. So why don't we have a family garage? Why don't we have a garage sale? And we'll raise $300 and that will be our summer budget for
Hmm.
the next 5 weeks or whatever,
Hmm.
and then so if we can do this as a family, then we can do these things as a family. So
Hmm.
go get the clothes that don't fit you anymore and the toys you're sick of and
Yep.
whatever, let's pull together as a family and do something. Because, sometimes it's not as easy as just sitting down and ramping up a new budget. Sometimes the money just isn't there. So
Yeah.
what a great way to come together as a family and make it happen.
I love that idea. I think that's a really good one. The family coming together at any point, I think, is a really
Yeah.
good one.
Hmm.
That's a really fun one.
And how they're
Um,
going to look back and go, hey, remember that summer we didn't have any money, but we had a garage sale and mom took us to Minions 4 and we got a large popcorn and we just killed it and we had so much fun. And then we got ice cream and, come
yeah.
on, that's going to go down in history.
Yeah. Can I tell you about probably one of the most fun things I've ever done?
Period or with your kids?
I just did
Yeah,
it.
of course you can.
Okay.
Okay, it's your
So
podcast. It's
on
our
that's
podcast.
right.
Yeah.
On
You can say what you want.
my summer list, like I feel like summer gets harder for entrepreneurs. It's not a great time for us. And
Not.
so summer ends up being this real balance between the work that we want to do, which is like go have fun with our families like everybody else is doing, and the things that we
Mm-hmm.
actually have to do to pay the bills. So I started out summer with a list of things that I wanted to say I can mark that off at the end of summer because it will help us to feel like we actually fully experienced our summer and that we weren't just lost to our work.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the things on this list was to go crabbing, and couldn't find a way to do it because if you hire a guide to teach you how to crab, it's very
Okay.
expensive. I mean, it was just way out of our budget. And but I wanted to do it so badly. I've wanted to learn how to crab forever. Couldn't ever find somebody to teach me. We had some friends that do it that we'd been trying to coordinate with for the last few years. It just never worked out. So,
Mm.
as the Lord would have it,
Mm.
I get a phone call. Hey, we're going to go crabbing from some friends. Hey, we're going to go crabbing such and such date. Can you guys come? And I was like, I don't care what's on the calendar. I will cancel it. Yes,
White.
let's
Right.
go.
Right.
And they're so easygoing. And I'd like to think we're pretty easygoing too. It's like the kids pack themselves. I'm like, grab your, swim trunks and some
Honestly,
shoes and a pair
Shay,
of
when the
underwear and a
kids can
toothbrush.
pack themselves, it's so great.
Just
Isn't
like,
that
let's
the
just
best?
go.
Sometimes they forget something. You're like,
Yeah.
you got one kid. Wait, you've been wearing the same pair of underwear for how many days? But like, they packed themselves, you
Yeah.
know? It's
Yeah.
like,
So they did, and we left kind of last minute out on a whim. My niece came and stayed on the farm to watch everything, and we went over to the coast. It was
mm,
about two hour and 15-minute drive for us to get to the Pacific, and we stayed on Whidbey Island, which is a really popular, huge island that kind of runs a good chunk of the length of Washington. Anyway,
mhm.
we crabbed our faces off.
Face is off. Oh my gosh, that's
And I
great.
mean, it was one of those days where, like, we get there, we put the crab pots in, we go get the kids all set up at the rental house, everyone settled in, they start watching a movie. The adults go back to the water to check the crab pots. The sun is setting, the water is completely still, nobody's on it. We can, like, hear the seagulls and the seals. We get all of these crab the first night, okay? We go back to the house, and literally the next morning, it was like, brush your teeth, grab the cooler. Like, we're going to the beach. And we sat on the beach, I don't know, 12 hours. We just sat there and we just crabbed all day long. And I kid you not, we saw a pod of orcas. Of orcas. We saw gray whales. We saw seals. We caught a shark. We crabbed. I mean, it was like, I just kept looking around like, is this even real? The kids were just, burying themselves in sand, making clothes out of seaweed. Like, I don't know, stuff kids do at beaches. Just,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how entertaining water was. Like, it's just, and it was nature, it was looking at the starfish and the tide pools and all the different types of seaweed and the wildlife, like what's going, it was learning to clean crab and having a mission, and it was the most
That's
fun I have
wonderful.
ever had. I think I was meant to be a crapper. Like, this is probably my life. I might have to move and become an islander and just crab.
Okay.
Couldn't believe it. It was a great reminder to me to, like, to try new things. And
Mm,
there's that piece of you that's like, I'm always kind of been curious about this. Huh, I wonder
mhm.
how they do that. Huh, I've always kind of wanted to, like, listen to that piece, because I genuinely think now, after that experience, we were all so elated. It was just like, oh, this is a thing that we do now. We know where to go.
Oh,
We know
that's,
how
isn't
to
that great?
do
We
it.
just add something to the family. Now we are crabbers.
Now we go twice a year. We go stay on the island and we go
Mm,
crabbing. And I think that's that bit of, like, of trying something new and trying maybe some of those
mhm.
things that you've been, oh, I've always wanted to take my kids there. I've always wanted to stop at that little roadside place and see. I've always wanted to try that out. Like, do it. You might hate it,
Mhm.
but, like,
Yeah.
it might actually change the trajectory of things for your family. you know?
That's awesome.
I mean,
I
who
love that
who
story.
can still like eat crab until they can't eat crab anymore?
I
Crab is
love
like
that.
15 minutes old. It's just like
Yeah.
so fresh.
Right?
So fresh. And people live on the island their whole life and they don't see orcas. I mean, this is as
Mm,
magical as
okay.
Washington gets. It was unbelievable. It was so
That's
special.
great.
Yeah.
That's
Summer
great.
highlight. I'll
Well, on
never
that
forget
note,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. So,
On that note, that's great. We hope you have some ideas and a little inspiration for your children. If they're starting to feel a little stale, put them to work and then go have some fun. That's the takeaway from this episode. And we're glad you were here for it.
yeah, try new things. Don't just waste. This was going to be my last note. Don't just
Okay.
waste the next 6 weeks being like, oh, it's hot and stale.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Like, fill it all in. Fill in every crevice with something sweet, something good.
Mm-hmm.
You're so good at this, Angela.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a summer girl. I live for it.
Ladies, carry on. We'll be back here with you next week. We've got some really great special guests lined up this season. So I know we're all kind of chilling, relaxing, enjoying the summer, but like we've got some good stuff going on here too. So make sure you check back with us here every Monday and share episodes, please, with your sister, with your mom, with somebody who you think would enjoy it. Every review that you guys leave for us, every kind comment, every like on YouTube, every share, it keeps us going. So thank you so much for those of you who have done it. And we would really appreciate it if you enjoy the show, if you would as well. All right.
Okay.
Carry on, ladies.
Sounds good.
We'll see you here next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.